One of the best climate modes that we know of is El Niño Southern Oscillation, or ENSO. It's really important because every few years it can affect weather patterns and climate system overall. There are three phases of ENSO: neutral phase, El Niño phase, and La Nina phase. And they all are interconnected, and they can change how all the oceans in the earth respond to it. So first of all, we start looking at what normal or neutral phase ENSO is. With everything in ENSO, it happens in the tropical Pacific. It has teleconnections to other places in the oceans, but we will focus now in the tropical Pacific. So during neutral years, there's winds in the tropical Pacific that flow from America to Australasia, and these winds have the peculiarity that they can move the surface of the ocean, which is warm, to the west, and that creates this warm pool of water, which in consequence generates moisture and hot air that rises up, and it creates this circulation that is called the Walker circulation. This is really important because it also feeds back into keeping and maintaining this neutral phase as the winds flow from the east to the west. These great winds have the peculiarity that they will pile up this water on the western side of the tropical Pacific Ocean, and as a consequence of that, there will be water rising from the deeper layers of the ocean in the east side of the tropical Pacific, and that process is known as upwelling. So now that we understand the neutral phase, we'll move on into what El Niño phase represents. All El Niño phases start with a weakening of the trade winds. As soon as the trade winds weaken, which means that the east to west flow of the winds decrease, this warm pool of water that was already piled up in the western side of the tropical Pacific Ocean can move now into the central Pacific or to the east Pacific. That also occurs in conjunction with the surface water in those other regions staying warm, as is now not being pushed to the west. As soon as that happens, then this location where the water can affect the atmosphere changes. So if it moves to the central Pacific, then hot water and humid water will rise up there, and then that will mostly mean that the precipitation in the tropical Pacific will occur within the ocean. If there's a really intense El Niño event, it can be pushed further east, and then a lot of the precipitation will happen in South America and Central America. This has a lot of consequence on how precipitation affect Australia, for example, in the case of really strong El Niño events that can usually lead to really dry conditions within Australia. In addition to that, this movement of hot water to the east side weakens further the Walker circulation, and that feedbacks into this loop of staying within El Niño or within El Niño phase. In contrast, La Nina phase is taking a neutral phase to the extreme, in which the trade winds intensify, thus they can pile up much hotter water closer to Australasia, and that has the impact of having a lot of more precipitation and rain within Australia. And that's, for example, what we have seen this year.